Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next. What MMO class meeting is this? Is this our third one?
It is the third one.
This is our third class, and I would like to extend a warm welcome to everyone that has joined us in the classroom, and for Zach, who has joined me sitting right here, and Lee, who is, well, quite a few miles away.
He's away, but he's been muted because he's huddled around a heater right now, which is very loud.
And Gavin, who is all over things, has informed me that I am yet to share my screen, and he is absolutely right. I guess I should do just that.
That's right. For those of you who can't get enough of your own IRC window, why don't you please have a look at ours?
So I am now sharing my screen out and capturing it as well. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see that. Now today, the very first thing that I need to do is talk about class schedules, even though I have already mentioned it to those that are hanging out with us in the classroom, because it's like a real class. We had, a little bit of time where we just kind of warm up and talk with everyone. But for those of you that missed that session and you're coming in late, I just want to throw out real quick, we've got 3 times, or actually over 3 times the number of students in the class than what was originally anticipated. We're going to do the best we can to accommodate everyone. That is why this weekend I am holding a class on both Saturday and Sunday. The class on Saturday, at this time being at 1 o'clock, so that puts us up at around, 7 o'clock GMT time in the evening. And with any luck, those of you that are overseas have been able to join us. At least hopefully it works out better for you. And then tomorrow, Sunday, we will be holding the class at 7 p.m., which is about 8, 9, 10, 9, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Something
or so,
like that.
GMT time. So anyways, hopefully that with these types of times, it'll be a little bit more accommodating. I'm not saying that I'm doing this every single weekend. We'll still have weekday sessions, but from time to time on weekends when I can get Zach and Lee both available, or even if it's just myself, it doesn't matter that much. I will try to have them in order to help those of you that work throughout the weekday. Now, on the agenda tonight, the very first thing, Zach is going to be reading to everyone the Elysian backstory. We heard in the last class meeting the human backstory. Everybody seemed to dig that, with the exception of the name used for the joining of the Canadians and the Americans.
And actually, I'm going to go off about that for just a minute.
Oh boy, here we go.
Nothing major. I don't even want that to be a major issue, because at the point where the player actually begins enjoying the game, that's ancient history anyway. Yeah, that came and went. I mean, consider it like a cute little buzzword that somebody thought sounded neat, and that was it. And it was gone as soon as it came because of the
Canaricans.
Canaricans. There you go.
That's interesting. Has an interesting flavor. A nice ring.
I think anybody who is an American right now and understands the political climate of the United States would completely appreciate it if I just said to heck with it and called us all Mexicans.
Okay, fair enough, Zach.
Yes.
And you can now hop off your soapbox and push it back to the back. Very good, very good. So anyways, with the reading of that behind us, we will move into the Elysian side. There has been a significant amount of work that has gone into this. I do know, well, you guys out there, most of you don't know, there has already been a few emails that have been sent our way asking when are we going to put the terrain system behind us. I had one asking about, all right, well, now that we've looked at the database stuff, are we going to move on and start designing how the data storage system is going to work for the MMO class? I've had a couple of messages about, how long are you guys going to play with the story? Can we please get going? I've tried to be as clear as I possibly could in the past, and I'll just say this again. We are designing this game at our own pace. It's not like we are lounging around here not doing anything, and then once a week we jump up and try to do one MMO related thing. Lee has been busting his butt this past week on the terrain system. We are not going to put a fork into that until we have something that we really like. Lee is now actually painting on terrain. As a matter of fact, I can bring Lee in for just a second, so not to catch him off guard. Hey, Lee, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Wow, it feels like I'm in, CNN sending some sort of message out to Afghanistan or something.
Fun. I just running into a bit of a crisis at the moment.
Uh-oh, what's the crisis?
I'm waiting to see how Blizzard's going to handle the fact that my account has gotten hacked with an authenticator.
Oh my
Do-do-do-do.
goodness, are you serious?
Yep.
Whoa. So, how do you know it's hacked?
Other than the fact that they kept sending me a couple of emails, I just found in my mailbox saying that my account information has been changed.
Have
I
you?
can't log into my account.
So you cannot log into it?
Ah,
Oh yeah, that's serious. Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Don't mean to
Oh,
you
it's
know.
no big deal. I'm playing Rift now anyway, so.
Well, real quick, we didn't get an opportunity to talk last night. How's the painting coming?
I pretty much got the ability to raise, lower, and level this stuff, and I pretty much set that aside because the next step is to make it persistent. And
Mm-hmm.
to make it persistent, we need a database behind it.
Oh,
Or
cool.
something to send the information back to. So I kind of set that aside, and I started working on playing around with shaders, and getting myself up to speed on Shader Lab and all that stuff.
Oh, there you are.
And
Hey.
Sorry, I have to
Yeah,
rush to
yeah.
Lee's defense real quick.
Yeah.
Jimmy Duff 21 said you may have fallen into a fake email and gave up your password and account to someone. Lee is a lot sharper than that.
Yeah, that's very true.
I'm sorry. I got to stick up for him in that one.
Nah, seeing as how I went and got the email and it's addressed at blizzard.com and I didn't click any links in there, I went directly to Battle.net and tried to log into my accounts via the real links and still can't get in.
Yeah, and now the authenticator that you use is your authenticator on the iPhone?
Yes.
Okay. I just saw people asking if you had an iPhone. I wonder if, and then the next question
No,
is
it's
it
not,
jailbroken?
It's not jailbroken.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think so.
Nope.
Yeah, that does stink. Well, the last thing I can report to everyone, the last thing that I saw before all of the fun I had last night, I guess would have been Thursday, Lee. And at that point, Lee was doing a bit of painting. It was more of a proof of concept. He had done an outstanding job with the terrain system, with a predictable terrain that was thousands of square miles, tens of thousands,
Oh, no.
hundreds
We're
of
millions.
thousands. Oh, we're millions now?
Yeah, I hit 82 million square miles, actually 25 million more square miles than the land surface area of the planet Earth.
Oh, nice. But with bad tearing, loss of precision, animation breaking down, shadows destroying, etc.
Yeah, I
Oh,
posted
okay.
an image of what happens.
Out that far. All right, but still, we can play in a world that's larger than any other world that has ever been presented in a game before with ease, without breaking down of shadows, etc., etc. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Well, it's like going, even if we switched up to player centric or a treadmill
Correct. If
style
we did
world,
player centric,
then we
then
can
it's
go forever.
right. But there's all sorts of technical issues that personally I'm not a fan of with dealing with that. But we'll come to that later. Let's not get off track. I do know that when Lee and I were doing some tests the other night, it was a lot of fun being able to explain locations that we were at, because we were within just a few miles of one another, and to be sharing different views with each other. We were throwing screenshots back and forth, and because we don't have the networking in place, and that's something we're not even looking at the moment, but it was a hell of a lot of fun because his world, my world, they were absolutely identical, which is of course very cool. So I do want to get across where I believe it was Matt that had said, I really love procedurally, randomly generated worlds. It's not random every time we come in. It's exactly the same every time. And then I went ahead and told Lee, let's put that on hold. That's been fantastic R&D, and it's something that we're ready to start recording for you guys, which is something that we're going to be looking at this weekend, depending on Lee's schedule. But I wanted to see some painting. I wanted to know what kind of feedback would we get as we began raising and lowering areas of the terrain, smoothing things out, digging in trenches, etc., with the number of patches that are being sewn together. And obviously the number of patches simply being seen if you wanted to take a look from a a perspective camera, something similar to Maya, where you're not looking through a camera that's kind of tied behind a third person. So Lee did just that. He put together a control system that mimics Maya with the ability to dolly and rotate, etc. And then moved into searching the best way to handle all of the painting across the seams, etc. And you ran into a good streak of luck, didn't you, Lee?
Well, it pretty much all worked the way I was hoping it would. There was a bit of a problem with trying to figure out how to take an alpha brush and apply it across multiple patches and be scalable. But
right.
After a couple of hours of beating my head around equations to do that, then everything else seemed to work fine. It also helped that, I got pissed off and threw the LOD away a couple of days ago, too.
Which that is something we can talk about real quick. But here's what I'm thinking, Zach, just so you know as well. I'm envisioning this being a very short meeting here, and then we'll stop this one, and then this will just be more of our getting everybody up to speed, and then we'll start the next one right where you begin the reading.
Of course, that's fine.
It'll be helpful to others that want to come back and find that quickly. So for those that have not yet heard, Lee, so you tossed out the LOD. Now, of course, the first thing that comes to mind is, oh no, is the train now going to look horrible because we wanted it to look beautiful when you were up close and in low detail when it's far off in the distance. But it still looks quite impressive, doesn't it?
Yeah, I only dialed down the quality slightly on the close-up patches, and all the way to the edge, the patches maintain the same density of vertices.
But in doing that, we actually picked up a few things to benefit.
Yeah, well, we ended up dropping draw calls, about another 10 draw calls, and we picked up about 150 frames a second. It actually takes longer to do all the calculations for handling LOD than it just to say the hell with it and draw high-res meshes all the way out to the edge.
Right. And Wolf Laptop just said, wouldn't it be more impressive without LOD, considering you have the same quality near as far away?
Well, it would be more impressive with high res all the way out to the edge, yes. But the problem, and the reason why we have LOD to begin with, is the fact that the farther away you get from the camera, you don't really need as high resolution to portray the look that you get.
Wouldn't.
There are some noticeable differences, but not enough to go, you know what, I need a couple extra 100,000 vertices way off,
you
on
wouldn't
the
see
horizon.
it. Yeah, where it's hidden in the fog or right there near the clipping plane, and you're seeing just more of a shape.
Right. But unfortunately, we don't have low-level access to the Unity game engine. We can only access it through scripts. And by writing scripts, we can modify meshes and create them on the fly, but the process of doing that for, dozens or possibly 100 different patches of terrain on a frame update is too costly. It's just less expensive for memory, for performance, for frame rate to just draw a higher res mesh all the way out.
Robert just said that it's time to make your own engine, Lee. Now, you were having some amazing luck with XNA, with doing terrain generation that was being tossed off to the GPU, correct?
Yeah, it's a modification of what I'm doing now. It
Very
was
cool.
still a patch-based. I had skirts on that one instead of going through and calculating and matching up the seams, but that was because I was using a different way of generating the terrain itself.
Now, for those that are joining us, Lee, that have not heard the term skirts before, they may not understand what you're talking about. Go ahead and take 1 second and explain what you mean.
All right, a skirt is just basically a way of cheating when you're using patches and sewing them together. When you have LOD with mismatched numbers of vertices and edges between patches, you're not gonna have vertices that are gonna line up one for one. And what most of you have seen in some older games is you'll see cracks appear where these edges appear. What a skirt does is it's a way of drawing geometry that goes directly down from that patch underneath, so it hides the seam.
Right.
It's just a trick.
Now, you did do patches inside of Unity, correct?
Yes, I did patches.
Or not patches.
inside-
I'm sorry, skirts. You did skirts, right?
Yeah, I did patches, and then I had the seaming problem because I had LOD. Then I put skirts in, and the problem that I had with skirts initially was the screenshots that I had the first time around is I didn't spend any time worrying about laying out the UVs on them, so that they were kind of messed up with lighting. So I went in and fixed them and recalculated their normals and the UV so that the textures would line up right. But the lighting that comes in from Unity was shadowing them all black anyway, so it was pretty much looking the same as it was without UVs and the normals corrected. And the only way to get around that would be to kind of cheat, break the skirts into separate objects, and then put a different shader on them so they didn't shadow. And then I just automatically doubled my draw calls, so
Right.
that was a no-go. So I threw those away, threw the LODs away, set the way the procedural terrain generation works. It automatically matches up my edges. So I get seam matching or seam stitching for free based on this. So the only thing that I do is I draw patches of 49 by 49 vertices.
Gotcha. So now,
And then I just go with it.
for those of you that that saw, I posted a picture the other night. I don't think I posted in the MMO class. I just threw it on my Facebook, and I threw it over on the 3D Buzz Facebook as well. And if you're not following the 3D Buzz Facebook, at the very least, you should be. It was a beautiful place. I found deep back in the mountains just exploring, because Lee's got it set up right now so that we can scale any wall. So Lee and I kind of had a competition going back and forth on who could find the highest mountain, because where you begin in the world, you're standing at the foothills of a large set of mountains behind you, and if you travel down the foothills, you'll finally come to some rolling plains into just flat plains before you hit water. But we're not going to talk about lakes and oceans, though they're there too. But anyways, with the ability to scale walls, we decided to turn around and start running back into the mountains. And oh, thank you very much, Gavin. Gavin just posted the picture in the IRC. There's the link. I greatly appreciate it. So anyways, so Lee and I just ran back into the mountains looking for who could find the highest point. And it ended up being a hell of a lot of fun, actually. But with everything working the way it is now, what kind of performance were we getting out of that, Lee? I was going to let you tell them, because it's something that I personally would be very proud of if I was you.
No, after I ditched all the LOD and everything else, and we were just doing the runaround, with the multi-threading test, we were getting over 600 frames a second, and I think we're down around 45 to 60 draw calls, depending on where we were.
45 to 60 draw calls, guys. That's huge. Now, of course, on a PC, it's like, so. But if you're thinking of mobile devices such as iOS, that's huge. I mean, and Lee has it set up so that everything can be dialed down for iOS, but we're now at a point where we don't have to look at dialing down much, do we?
No, because I was figuring if we dialed it down to a grid of 3x3 or 9 tiles, so it's only 9 draw calls. But with an iPad and new iOS 4, we can bump up maybe, say, 4x4.
Yeah.
Or 5x5 and
Which
do
is
25.
Which is huge. Of course, we don't have vegetation and stuff like that. And you've got so much room to spare right now with the terrain in its current state. For PC, I'm not even stressed at all thinking about things like vegetation and all. We will need to scale things back for iOS, which for those of you, I see a lot of discussion in the IRC about what is iOS. That's just become kind of the common way of referring to the Apple products, the Touch, the iPhone, or the iPad. And God only knows whatever comes out next month. But so we do have that ability to scale back, giving ourselves a lot more room for
not only in
other
the number of
things.
patches, we can also dial back on the density of the vertices or the uh, the number of vertices. Period. Is I was like I said, I went and pre-ordered Rift last night,
Mm-hmm.
and I got up this morning and jumped on the terrain that we have
Mm-hmm.
right now. From what I can tell, is at probably the same resolution, maybe a little bit higher than what is
Wow.
in Rift.
Wow. Nice.
Completely off
So,
topic. How are you liking Rift?
um, I've not played it enough to determine whether I love it or hate it. There is something in it that I I really like. I know Jason would absolutely love it
Ooh.
as far as dealing with the classes, because there's not all kinds of classes. There's only 4 of them.
Ooh.
But what you pick up are souls. Souls are entire skill trees that you can put your stuff in,
Mm-hmm.
just like specializations. You can have 3 of them at a time.
Huh.
So you can
Kinda
pick them up in
define your
drops.
class
So
as you
each
go.
Nice.
exactly, and each class has like 10 different souls that you can mix and match.
Whoa. Yeah,
And
that
then,
sounds very interesting.
yeah, it gives you all kinds of flexibility. It's like going, oh yeah, I want to be a mage. Well, gee, I want to be a necromancer slash warlock slash cleric type, because they even have a mage that has chloromancer, which has the ability to steal life from others and heal. Currently, the character that I put together is an elementalist slash storm mancer,
Mm-hmm.
or stormbringer, whatever they call him, and the chloromancer.
Yeah.
So
Very nice.
I'm kind of setting it up as a solo DPS type.
Interesting. Well, yeah, you know how much I love, to me, when you start getting all into the heavy stat calculation and very careful thinking of how you design your character around the way you play. I love stuff like that. But anyways, let's not get too far off.
Yeah.
Robert did ask a question a second ago. He says, are you using 49 by 49 and overlapping the edges?
I'm not overlapping the edges. I'm using 49 by 49, but the way the terrain generator works, I can put in the position of any vertice. Those, well, technically, yeah, those vertices aren't overlapped, but they exist in the exact same
Right.
spot in space.
Right.
So they come back at the exact same height.
Very cool. Okay, so, well, I definitely at some point, maybe this weekend, Robert said cool, thanks, in case you didn't see it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind getting up with Nelson and seeing how we could integrate, for doing some persistence with your painting, how we could integrate that in with RavenDB. Because, again, with RavenDB, it's still an exploration as far as I'm concerned, because now I have the concept down pretty pat for document databases, but I don't know. I just we need to get together, and I just want to see how we would start applying this into the sculpting and persistence of our worlds. But that should be interesting.
Right, because we've got to figure out how to send the information, store it, then the terrain system has to prefetch it, because you can't sit there and wait on the database to give you information for each and every patch as you're scrolling through a piece of terrain. It would take too long.
Precisely. So, okay, so I guess that pretty much wraps it up. The big thing, though, is Lee's got the system to where it's pretty damn impressive. The draw calls,
No memory leaks.
significantly lower. Yeah, now, I think the first we're going to present is going to be without threading and all. Now, you reran the threading system with no memory leaks in that as well, correct?
Well, that was an interesting thing. The whole system right now, with and without multi-threading, it has no memory leaks. I ran it for over 30 hours with the multi-threading.
And no leaks.
And there's no leaks. Over 600,000 patches.
But you were so adamant that it was a bug in Unity.
Oh, no. The multi-threading part that I said is a bug in Unity is.
Okay.
I cannot run the multi-threading build in the editor.
Oh.
It will kill the editor. I can build out standalone, and I can run it for days on end and as happy as can be.
Nice.
But I can't run it in the editor.
Nice. Okay. Very, very cool. There was a question that came by a minute ago, just scanning. Well, I can't find it, but basically what he asked was, will we be showing this in video, walking through the code? Absolutely. The original goal was for us to be recording this past week with the first iteration past what you guys saw last time. I guess you could call it the second iteration. And the video system really needed to be corrected. And so Nelson and I ended up working on that while Lee began R&Ding with, and that's researching and developing, for those of you where that term is still new. Anyways, he began research and developing on the sculpting and new techniques of handling patch creation through a multi-threaded system, etc. So yeah, all of these things we're going to be recording to video. Heck yeah! So, and even then, please understand that the way the coding is being done, for those of you architecture gurus out there, is we're not sitting planning heavy architectures use at the moment. It's very old school, just straightforward coding. First of all, for us, it's fast to just jump right in.
It's
and
test of concept.
Yeah, it's just proof of concept, and then it also works well for those that are in the class that are still new to coding and trying to follow what we're doing. Because I know when Nelson gets involved with some of his stuff, everything he does has, all sorts of heavy abstraction wrapped all up into it, and patterns, and it really starts to confuse people that don't have a lot of coding practice behind them. I do want to throw that out real quick, though, because I have seen the threads and the concern about Nelson using ReSharper, and I get completely lost. And Nelson and I have been talking about it, and I'm doing the best I can, and so is Zach, to slow him down just a little. But I do need to remind everyone that this class was never pitched as a beginner's class to this, because if we presented everything as a beginner content, this class would last years and years and years and years, and we can't do that.
I am working on something, though.
Yeah. Oh, are you? A booby?
Talking with JetBrain.
Oh, yes. Have they ever got back with you?
They haven't yet, but
Okay.
It was Friday, so, most companies, you try to give them a couple of days on a Friday.
That's true.
But I am talking with JetBrain about certain things involving this class.
Yeah, just in case things could be worked out. But anyways, it's just a reminder that we can't reel it in and pull back to beginner level stuff. So yeah. Anyways, I think that's everything in regards to what Lee's been working on, and the video system is now looking quite sexy. And Zach and I have done a lot of back and forth with the story, and so as Gavin and Zach, as well as NATO and Zach, and that's what we're going to take a look at here in the next segment of this class meeting. So is there anything else that any of you guys would like to add before we bring this one to a close?
No, sir.
All right, guys. Well, let me go ahead and wait. Gavin, is that a yes to me, or yes to who knows, something else? Hard to say. Okay. No to me. All right. So for those of you that are listening in on this, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and close this session. Everyone that is in the class, hang tight for 1 second. We'll start it back up, and Zach will begin reading the story. Thanks a lot.